Hey horror fans, welcome back to another video of Ho Ho Horror, room 237. And this is going to be a fun one. Wow, I haven't seen this movie in a while. Jack Frost from, see if I can get it, there you go. Jack Frost, 1997. And yes, this will also be added to a playlist of 90s slasher films. If you haven't seen it, it's exactly what it looks like. It's a killer snowman. Now, by the 1990s, slashers were pretty much out. They had kind of ended the classic franchises. Scream came out in 96, was a huge, monstrous success. Really satirized the slasher genre very, very well. And you know, there was also like Leprechaun movies, and slasher films were kind of a joke. I mean, there were other movies at the time, like there was one with like Uncle Sam. There was a bunch of really bad 90s ones that I can't even remember. Aside from the 90s that everyone kind of remembers, like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Valentine, stuff like that. And this is a movie that, I mean, it has a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. It deserves it. But it's a horror comedy. And it's not just a horror comedy. It's a movie that is just completely shameless. It doesn't give a fuck what it does or says. It wants you to laugh at it. It wants you to think it's stupid, because it is. I mean, there are even lines of dialogue and jokes in this that just when I think I've heard the dumbest one, that something else is said, and I'm just like, oh my god, this fucking movie. Now, obviously, I did not see this back in 97. I was 5 years old. Well, I turned 6 in December. But I remember seeing this at the video store. And I remember renting this probably when I was between 10 and 12. And I thought it was kind of silly then. And then I checked it out on YouTube a few years ago, probably when I was 21 or 22, and that's how I watched it again, YouTube, with Spanish subtitles. Why is it all the bad movies? I guess I'm thankful. This and Don't Open Till Christmas, that was Greek subtitles, this was Spanish. Now, the movie opens up with a story that, if you're a metalhead like me, you recognize it from Kill Whitney Dead's Christmas songs. Opening up with Uncle Henry telling a story of a guy named Jack who liked to go up and kill people. It's much longer than the sample in the Kill Whitney Dead song, but this guy who killed people and, you know, put them into pies, and he killed like 38 people. His name is Jack Frost. And when it actually opens up, it's a snowstorm. Serial killer Jack Frost is being transported to his execution. There's an accident. They crash into this chemical truck, this tanker truck. He's about to escape, and this acidic chemical sprays out, douses him, melts into the snow, becomes one with the snow, becomes a snowman, and makes his way back to the small town to continue his killing spree, but also to get revenge on the local sheriff that arrested him. So sick of this stuff he knows, I swear to God. Makes all my videos sound like ass. And that's pretty much the premise of the movie. The rest is just, you know, kills. It's got a decent kill count. Practical effects that you can love or hate. And a bunch of sight gags, jokes, and puns. Now, it's not quite the horror level of, say, Evil Dead 2 or Return of the Living Dead. It's about the same level as two other movies that came out in 1997. Actually, three. I'll say three. One was Batman and Robin. Mr. Freeze with all his ice puns. How silly and stupid that movie was. Spawn. A lot of the... Well, no, I can't really say Spawn because that was CGI, but there was a lot of bad jokes in that too. And, of course, Leprechaun 4, Leprechaun in Space. Not a whole lot of hope for slasher films, although Scream 2 came out in 97. So, and just want to bring up the cast. There were some people that I did recognize. For example, the guy that plays Jack Frost, he was played by Scott McDonald. He's a character actor. He played an officer on Dexter. He's basically a 2-bit second-rate Brad Dourif. You look at what Brad Dourif did for Chucky, that angry, kind of shouting, raspy voice with smart-ass remarks. That's him. He's basically kind of like a Brad Dourif. Sheriff was played by Christopher Allport, who I've seen in other things. Oh, and this was direct-to-video. This didn't even get theatrical release. It was written and directed by Michael Cooney, who I can't even click on. And this was also the film debut of Shannon Elizabeth, who has a similar role in this as she does everything else. I did want to look up who did the practical effects, because I don't really remember it from the credits. I guess the writer directed it because they couldn't afford a director. It doesn't even give the budget. It was distributed by Apex Entertainment. Never heard of them. Director jokes that Jack Frost was made for the cost of its catering budget. This tablet's kind of slow, but I'll try to look up who did the effects, because some of them, the gore effects look good. The Snowman effects do not. I mean, it's not really a guy in a suit. It looks like shiny foam, or like when you see his hands, because he doesn't have stick arms, he has like snow arms. It looks like big white oven mitts. It's not even really coming up. Look under cast and crew on IMDb, I guess. Sorry this is taking too long. My phone's much faster, but okay. Art department. it wasn't like a person like Tom Savini or Greg Nicotero. It was, well, Greg Nicotero, like K and B. It was something like K and B. Special effects. Okay, well, I guess there's a bunch of them. It's giving me all the people. I've never heard of any of these people. Virgil Sanchez did special effects. Uh, Kenneth J. Hall was the designer of the Snowman. John Fadel was the key puppeteer. Michael Deek was the supervisor of the Snowman effects. I'll click on him. I guess he seemed to be the head of it. Oh, God. What the hell? He was in Deja Vu, Transformers, The Island, and Serenity. But that looks like the Ginger Dead Man. I spent way too much time on that. I apologize. So basically, like Jack Frost, it's a bunch of snow puns. Well, I will say when the acid hits him, he melts, and great effects, but it looks like it's sped up, and then it's just a bunch of like jump cuts, sort of like a Lon Chaney Wolfman effect, like how he becomes less and less body and blood. It eventually looks like a bloody stick person in the snow, then he completely disappears. And then the camera even zooms into the snow and it's supposed to show like DNA merging blood and ice. But it's 2D animation. It's a cartoon. In fact, when he's in the back of the prison truck, when it rolls over, we literally see him like, and the camera's rolling like this. When the acid, like we see the acid spray out, come towards him, and we just see him go, oh, this is gonna hurt, and then it hits him. And, you know, like, one joke that worked, it was subtle. They find this dead body that looks like it's been mummified in ice. But it's like back too, so you see like the back of his head, like here, in a rocking chair. They're like standing here looking down at him. But the rocking chair's going like this. Eventually the sheriff just goes, oh, get your foot off the chair. And then the rocking chair just stops. I thought that was a funny joke. But the rest, I mean, the snowman, he takes an axe and he shoves it down a guy's throat. First he asks him for a smoke, and he's like, I only axed you for a smoke. Puns like that. And of course, he can melt himself and then turn back into a snowman to like get through locked doors. Sometimes he'll have his carrot or his scarf. Sometimes he doesn't. And I'm jumping all over the place. I'm not going chronologically because it doesn't work. The movie's too crazy. Shannon Elizabeth's brother gets killed because the snowman pushes him. His friends are sledding. Sled hits him and his head flies off. And like, her dad is the one that gets the axe. And then her mom gets like, this is really silly. It looks like big foam oven mitts. Like, he's like a giant behind her. He grabs her head, puts a Christmas tree ball in her mouth, like goes like that. Then like takes her head and like overhead view, like rubbing her head in all the Christmas balls, scratching her face up, and just, you know, strings her up on the tree. But he does it like 4 or 5 times. It's very cheap looking. Shannon Elizabeth and her boyfriend go to the sheriff's house because they're not home. They want to have sex in his kitchen. I mean, he kills the boyfriend by shooting icicles. that's kind of cool. So she's in the bath, and he turns himself into water, solidifies, but first we see the carrot nose floating between her legs. And then, like the Freddy Krueger moment, he rises up, and like her arms are stuck in him. The snowman rapes her with the carrot nose while he's bashing her head against the wall. It looks silly. I mean, I don't know if it was supposed to be horrific. It's implied that he's raping her, because even afterwards, he takes the carrot, puts it back, and he's like, Christmas came early this year. And, you know, she's just kind of screaming. Imagine like a bad actress screaming. So you have all that silliness, but I will say I did like, it did have a B movie, a classic B movie feel to it. You know, small town, threat, kind of like the Blob. I did like that. The sheriff has a son, a young son, who's like obsessed with cooking stuff, but he just makes shit that they don't want to eat, and he fucks up the whole kitchen. They find out that they try all these different ways to try to kill him. They even try to force him into the furnace. They all have like blow dryers, and they're like walking him to the furnace. He's like, oh no, oh that's not good, oh no. And then someone else comes up and he's like, oh great, another one. Then he's in the furnace, but of course that just pisses him off. And he comes back and he's got like icicle teeth, which that's the thing. If you've seen the VHS, you will remember that first you get like a happy little snowman that, you know, it's holographic and it changes into that. That is not the snowman you get. It is a dopey, like 2 coal eyes, like a mouth and a carrot nose. A scarf. Eventually they can kill him because the sheriff takes these oatmeal cookies that his son made him, throws it at him, and it starts melting him. Like, not melting, but like pink and red, like guts and brains. Because the kid, he's like 6. He says, I didn't want you to get cold, so I put antifreeze in the cookies. So he almost poisoned his dad. So then, you know, they get a big truckload. They fill a bed full of antifreeze. They put him in that. I will say the effects, you know, looks... I did like the idea of the way they can actually kill him as he melts like a person. Like, you see, like, brains and guts and shit. That was pretty cool. Which, in fact, when it gets to that point, it even gets to a point where he gets launched in the air for some reason. And this is towards the end of the movie. He even yells out, I can see your house from here. That was the point where I was just like, this movie has no fucking shame. And of course you find out because there's this FBI agent and this scientist working together. The chemical was in the event of like a nuclear holocaust. Our bodies, it will melt our bodies, and we will become one with some sort of earthly element and will be reborn. Just so happens it happened to a homicidal maniac, which when Jack Frost is human in the beginning, he looks like a killer. Not in all the scenes. The opening scene when he's in the back of the truck, he should have played a killer in another movie, because that would have been great. This movie is just so fucking... you can't even really get mad at it because it knows what it's doing. It knows it's stupid. It knows it's fucking silly as shit. So even though I'm ranting, I can't really. It's one of those movies that it's stupid to get mad at. It's like a Leprechaun movie. This is actually a movie where they tried to, go as dumb as they can. They knew that a killer snowman was a dumb idea. Is it as dumb as a gingerbread man? No. Or a killer bog? No. But still a dumb idea. But they had fun with it. Unfortunately, it was a lot of Batman and Robin sort of pun humor. I know there was more kills. I literally just watched it a few hours ago, and now I can't even remember. But, and yeah, the whole town has to come together. Well, actually, no, it's really just the sheriff eventually, but... And then they have, like, all these canisters of the antifreeze that he melted in, and they bury it. Then, of course, the camera zooms in, and you just see it, like, go... Because there's a sequel. Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman, which takes place in the tropics. I haven't seen that. I think it's on YouTube. I'll try to get to it. But, I mean, it was kind of fun. But at the same time, like, the humor was really fucking stupid. But there was, I did laugh at it, I would even say this is better than the Leprechaun movies. I'll say it. I do own the first Leprechaun. I think this is a better slasher film than the Leprechaun movies. But it's still fucking stupid. Jack Frost, 1997. Thank you for watching.